Ever notice how some people just seem to have it all together? They land the dream job, find the perfect apartment, somehow stumble into free coffee, and you're just sitting there thinking, why does the universe have favorites? Because same. But then here's what I realized, it's not magic, it's a mindset. For the longest time, I truly genuinely believed that I wasn't lucky. And here's how I changed my internal monologue from I'm not lucky to I am lucky. Before we get into the video, I want you to take a few minutes and really think from a scale of 1 to 10. How lucky do you think you are? Just drop a number in the comments. By the end of the video, you might feel it's higher than you're estimating. Because I realize being lucky isn't about being born lucky. It's about training your mind to notice, create, and attract the opportunities you want. Think of that friend who seems to meet the right people at the right time all the time or finds exactly what they need. To me, it's not a coincidence. It's mindset in action. For some people, this mindset might be more natural because people around them have always been telling them that they're lucky. So the thought gets reinforced without any active effort. For some others, we have to put on some extra effort to make that mindset stick. But that doesn't make the luck any less real. Hi, I'm Kuhu, a psychology nerd and an art and pop culture enthusiast with a master's in psychology. Here on Kuhuverse, we decode why our brain does what it does and how we can use that information to level up our goals, routines, and mindset. Because I believe mental health isn't about just getting by, it's about creating a life that feels like you. So if that sounds like your vibe, hit subscribe and let's get right into it. So, what is lucky girl syndrome really? To me, it's a mix of mindset, habits, and how our brain works. Our brain has this filter called the reticular activating system, or RAS for short. I like to think of it as a search engine for life. When we focus on opportunities or luck, our brain actively works to help us notice things that make us feel lucky or to find the opportunities we're looking for. If you watched the video on manifestation and vision board, we've already touched upon it in that video. But in short, when we focus on what we want or on our goals actively, our brain helps us filter out opportunities related to it. That coffee invite might turn into a connection. The scroll on Instagram could show you your next side hustle. And here's the cool part. When we genuinely think we're lucky, we get a dopamine boost. And dopamine is not only important to feel happy, it also helps us pay attention, notice patterns, and helps us with motivation. So the more we practice this mindset, or the more we practice being in this mindset of I am lucky, the more our brain would rewire itself. That's neuroplasticity. Our mind would start scanning for reasons why we are lucky. So think of it as choosing what search engine you want your brain to be on. Do you want it to think it's lucky, you're lucky, or do you want it to think you're unlucky? And while it sounds very simple, it's not that simple. Because feeling lucky isn't just about reading 100 affirmations on how I'm lucky. You might read affirmations, but if you don't genuinely feel that you're lucky, it won't work. Instead, I like to focus on taking tiny steps or remembering things that made me feel lucky. So, any moments that made me feel lucky. Honestly, I used to think I'm not lucky. And still, sometimes I feel like I'm not one of those people you will look at and say, oh, she's really lucky. But I've been wanting to change this mindset. And here are some things that I've done that I feel really helped me rework and rewire this mindset. So, the first thing I did was keeping receipts. Now, this is kind of my favorite thing to do. So, when something lucky happens to me, something that makes me feel lucky, I first started keeping mental notes about it. Or I think about and be like, oh, these were the different instances in my life where I felt lucky. Later on, I once journaled a page about all the things, just a list of things that have happened in my life that make me feel very lucky. It could be very small things like someone smiled at you got a discount at your favorite cafe. For me, these were getting into my dream university or getting to learn the subjects I truly enjoy learning about. It could also work if you keep a luck journal or you just journal once a week in your journal about all the things that made you feel lucky this week. Why I feel this exercise works for me is one, I have this list to go to whenever I want. So if I'm feeling down, I can read this list, I can remember it. So you could just have it on your phone as well. And plus, I realized after writing down, I remembered all of these instances much better. So I started scanning for these patterns more often in little things that be like, oh, that's so lucky. I am so lucky. The second thing that I feel really helped me was projecting positive expectations, in which before a task or say a presentation, a project, and a run that I am really dreading or I just have a bad feeling about, I would try to actively change my internal dialogue to go from I'm dreading this, something was going to go wrong, I am very scared of speaking in front of people. I would try to think more, okay, maybe I'll learn something today. Maybe I'll meet someone new who'll teach me something new today. Maybe today is going to be a really good day. This tiny little nudge primes us to notice opportunities and pay attention to the positive more than the negative. And it really helped me relax when I needed to. The third thing for me was following my curiosity. If there was something like an idea, a topic that made me really curious, just try it. You never know what happens next. You could take a small class on it. You could maybe go talk to a person who knows a lot about the topic. Or if you meet someone who already knows about the topic and that's how you get interested, just go introduce yourself, have a little chat. I realized I have been following my curiosity in a way for a very long time because if I'm ever interested in topic, it's so easy to just go on Google and read a little information about it or go and watch a YouTube video about it. If there's a guest lecture and I really enjoy the topic, just go and talk to the person who delivered the lecture. But I think the wildest story for me was back when I was 14. I was running this little blog, and one random night I decided I am going to try to interview Conan Gray. I don't know if he was very big back then, but I thought let's just try emailing him and we'll see where that goes. So I emailed Conan Gray and he replied. Don't bother looking up the interview now. Let's just say it was very 14-year-old me. But that moment taught me something. Sometimes luck begins with a small what if that you just follow. I didn't overthink it that night and just followed my curiosity and somehow ended up with the interview, just sending him a few questions through email and him replying back through an email. But that was huge for 14-year-old me. The fourth thing that really helped me was simply asking. I guess this is in a way a follow up to the previous point. For the longest time, I would miss a lot of opportunities because I just didn't have the confidence to go and ask for what I'm thinking about. I didn't have the confidence to go pitch my ideas, to say, what if we tried this? Or even to just go and say, I want to try this. I learned the power of asking when I was in my final year of masters. There was this guest lecture on neuropsychology for our juniors, and I had another class that clashed with this guest lecture's timing. So I texted my professor saying, could I attend this lecture? And I'd be bunking yours. I thought it's better to ask than assume. A few months later, another professor mentioned an internship to me under the same guest lecturer. Because I'd spoken up about my interest in neuropsychology and I'd gone out of my way to ask for permission to, just attend this other lecture, and turned out that I was the only person to ask in my entire batch. And this exactly is what I feel is luck. It's not something that you accidentally stumble upon. Luck is something that finds you trying. The fifth thing that really helped me is, I think, something I really underestimate, which is reframing negative moments. Because life isn't perfect, but even small little silver linings matter. Instead of simply focusing on what went wrong, I started taking the time to actively think about that one little thing that went right, or the one little thing that was, good in the whole negative experience that I just had. And over time, I started focusing more on the positive, the little positive things. Even if I had a very bad day, the one thing that went right, the one thing that really made me happy today, the one thing that I learned today, something new that I learned. Because what I've learned is we're naturally wired to remember the negative moments, because that's what helped us survive back in the hunter gatherer days. But by focusing on the positives today, I get to learn from my mistakes, of course, from what went wrong, whatever was negative, but I also get to focus on what went right. I don't simply sit there thinking, oh, this was a terrible day, I messed up this presentation. Instead, I can be, okay, I messed up the presentation, but what did I learn from it? Where exactly did I go wrong? And now this is not something I failed at, but it's something that I learned from. All of these little things help me build confidence. And confidence might just be the catalyst to being lucky. I found that all of these little things help me increase my confidence. And when you act like the person good things happen to, they start happening. People notice your energy, doors start opening, opportunities show up. My takeaway from all of this is that lucky girl syndrome isn't magic. It's not something you're born with. It's a mix of mindset, attention, and action. Now, I want you to take 5 minutes and either in your journal or in your notes app, wherever you're comfortable, write down a few things that you remember made you feel lucky. A few things that have happened across, say, this entire year, if you can, in your entire life. Things that made you feel lucky. These could be very small things, these could be very random coincidences, or it could be something that you intentionally did to lead to a moment that made you feel lucky. Once you're done, go back to your answer at the start of this video and think, do you still rate your luck the same on a scale from 1 to 10? Alright guys, this is my take on lucky girl syndrome or luck. I think it's more a mindset that can be developed. Just like you're not born with six-pack abs, but you can build muscles. If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more such videos on mindset, manifestation and lifestyle. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.